watching Inside the Gilliverse, talking all things Breaking Bad, El Camino, and Better Call Saul. Brought to you by Stewart Travel Guitars. See the incredible stowaway travel guitar at stewartguitars.com. Also brought to you by Idea Bench, makers of hot rod-inspired pedal boards and pedalboard accessories at ideabench.com. Microphones for Inside the Gilliverse are brought to you by Rode Microphones. Now please welcome your hosts, Tom Schnauz and Eric Broadbent.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for episode 10 of Inside the Gilliverse, where we talk all things Breaking Bad, El Camino, Better Call Saul, and you never even know, maybe even some Spinal Tap this evening. My name is Eric Broadbent, and it comes with great pleasure to always welcome my co-host, writer, director, and producer for Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. And sadly, this is his last episode this evening. So, Tom, we need your desk cleaned out by 10. We'll do our best to validate your parking, and you've been known to walk off set with a few things, so we're going to be having someone escort you to your vehicle. But Tom, nice to have you back, my friend. How are you?
I got this cool shirt. You're not taking it from me. And, you know, it's going to be very hard to keep me away. You know, I know I'll be back.
Good. Well,
I just have to finish writing some scripts.
Yeah, just a couple things for the little show.
Just a couple of things to do. But tonight we have a great, amazing guest. So happy he's here. Come smell the glove with us. It is Michael McKean.
Hi, boys.
Thank you for doing this.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
And we just have to start off because Eric prepared a little something for a very special day tomorrow. We understand that someone's having a birthday. There's a clip.
Yeah.
So, Eric, if you want to go ahead and introduce the clip you put together.
I will. I'll do that for us. We had a few familiar faces, some people that you know quite well. And the voice that you heard at the beginning of the show here, that's our voice artist, Paul Sura. So you're not going to be able to see this right now, Michael. You will hear it. So I'm going to send the link back to this to Harriet later, and you're going to love this. So see if you can recognize these people. Here you go. One second here.
Hey, Michael, happy birthday. My name's Paul Sura out here in the Phoenix, Arizona area. Hope you're having a better day today than finale of Better Call Saul season 3 or whenever that was when you died tragically in a fire. But let's face it, you kicked over like an oil lamp in the middle of a bushel full of newspapers. So kind of inevitable. But regardless, hope you're having a better day today and wishing you many more.
Hi. June and I wanted to wish you, Michael McKean, a very happy birthday. Right, June? I hope it's a real good one. Okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Michael. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Michael.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Michael. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Wait, those visuals. We had Paul Sura kicking it off at the beginning, our voice artist. Then we had Peter Dyseth, who plays Bill Oakley on the show, with his cat June. And I think you saw his self-tape audition where the cat made the entrance and knocked down his screen on Twitter.
Yeah,
it's so phenomenal. So that you'll see that. And then we had your partner there from HHM, Patrick Fabian, doing a nice little birthday wish on the piano. And then Julianne Emery and her better half, Kevin Early, wishing you a happy birthday as well to you.
That's very nice. It's a nice bunch of people.
They are. We love them. It's Gilliverse family. That's what it is for sure. So we have a bunch of questions coming in right off the hop. I'm getting them sent to me from my better half. We'll start with that. Tom and I have a few as well.
I could only answer questions about things that happened during Charles McGill's lifetime.
Okay.
So you won't get no Easter eggs from me.
And
maybe well. I can only tell you the truth.
Okay. And that goes for you too. You can't be asking Tom for Easter eggs, or if we're going to see some flashbacks of Chuck. So it's got to be fair, right?
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Can I start off? I just want to ask, how long have you known Bob Odenkirk? Because you appeared on Mr. Show.
Yes.
Doing a great John Houseman.
I met Bob when I was doing SNL. he had been a writer on SNL previous season, or maybe a season and a half ago. And he, of course, he had friends all over the building, and he was one of those guys I'd always see, and it's a really funny guy. And I'd hear the name Odenkirk, but I didn't put the two together. So finally, I went over and introduced myself, and he went, "Yeah, okay, we've met like 3 times." And I was like, "Whoa, Frosty!" And I kind of chased after him. I said, "No, we've been in the same room, and I've laughed at things you've said, but anyway." So a couple of years after that, Mr. Show was really gearing up. I was such a huge fan, and I went over to him at some event at Paramount, I think, Star Trek event maybe. And I just said, "Oh boy, at our place we worship at the shrine of Mr. Show." So I wound up, I didn't mean to, but I wound up getting a gig, and it was really, really fun. I'd known David a little bit, and but that's and then I really didn't see him. I saw him occasionally. I saw him once in Aspen. I saw him when he came to see the Credibility Gap show. David Lander, Harry Shearer, and myself got together and did a piece from the old days as part of a thing at the Museum of Broadcasting or whatever it was. And he was great. He was great to come by. And so, yeah, he's always a guy I really admired. And just watching him grow as an actor has been so thrilling, especially as a guy who was always told, you got to make a decision. Are you going to be a really good actor? Or are you going to be a funny actor? And it's like, I want to be Alan Arkin. What's he? And it's like Bob is a similar thing. It's like he's a guy who's just got chops no matter what he does.
A great comparison to Alan Arkin. I never made that connection, but it's really perfect.
No. That's like my favorite songwriters can break your heart or they can make you laugh. The best ones can do that. Randy Newman can do both. Loudon Wainwright, Richard Thompson, it's my favorite songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
Okie
Speaking of songwriting, you and your wife Oscar nominated for Mighty Wind. Is that a song that you had, or did you commission to write for the movie?
We wrote a song for the movie that Chris really liked for the new Main Street Singers to do, Potatoes in the Paddy Wagon. And he said, "You guys want to have a shot? We need a love song that maybe suggests that there's a kiss, some kind of thing." So I started working on it, and then Eddie helped me finish it, and then we sang it together for a demo, and kind of made a duet out of it. And then Chris kind of put it in the movie as a character, really. That it's not just a song; it's kind of what they are about, what those two strange lost souls were really about. I thought it was a very, very good use of the thing, and it turned out nicely.
It was a great song, perfect for the movie. So let's get to some fan questions, Eric. I know there's a bunch.
Yep, no problem. I'm going to jump over to a super chat question. We'll circle back. This is from Shashank. I know Shashank shares that Chuck is his favorite character, but he's saying, do you believe Chuck looks down on Jimmy because of his strong ethical code, or do you believe it's because of jealousy?
The glib answer that I used to give people was Chuck made his mother proud. Jimmy made his mother laugh. And it's one of those immeasurable things. That both have great value. But Chuck felt somehow shortchanged, especially since Jimmy was not that easy to handle growing up, nor having grown up, as we know. This guy didn't make a lot of great life choices. Chuck made all the right choices, and yet still felt like he never had the same level of joy from his mother or for his mother. But you know what? Chuck was one of those guys, graduated from high school at 16, had his law degree by the time he was 23. He was a monster of that type. And those people are sometimes very lonely, and they can construct all kinds of universes to get lost in. So I've answered much more than your question and dodged it at the same time.
No, that's good. Well, I'm glad he asked that question, because I'm gonna be selfish for one brief moment. I'm gonna ask a question that related to that. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've heard you talk about being the proud and the laughter. Let's just say that Chuck made mom laugh. Jimmy did something, hard to believe, but maybe made her proud. Would the relationship between the brothers be any different, better or worse, do you think? I mean, we're hypothesizing here, but...
Yeah, you can't just... You know what? Birth order has something to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Chuck was a great deal older than Jimmy had something to do with it. I think I think what these guys wrote, and when I say these guys, I'm talking about all Yun's guys, it really did develop over time. I think that they let the story take them. And that's that Elmore Leonard thing. I just make up the characters and have them do the rest. And it's not quite that simple, as anyone who's actually written for a living knows. But to really to create on a palette that includes the actors, that includes the input they're getting from directors and from designers, and the show is father to the show in a funny way. But anyway, I always appreciated when they told me things like, when they would say things like, you and Bob really are kind of suggesting things that you don't even know. You're just playing the scenes, but your relationship is kind of growing in ways that we didn't see. That was very flattering. And I think it turned out to be a really wonderful way for Jimmy's life to turn, or to begin turning anyway. Yeah.
Oh, very well said. And that's the thing too. I mean,
yeah, Michael's performance absolutely influenced where we went with the character, because originally he was started off as just the Mycroft Holmes of the show, where Jimmy was going to be in trouble and go to his brother, who was so intelligent, knew everything about the law, and come for answers. And that quickly didn't go away, but we noticed the pride that Michael brought to the character of Chuck McGill. And then we started thinking, well, why would he be okay with a slippin' Jimmy? And it just went from there, and it really helped us turn the direction we went in season 1.
I can't add anything to that. I wasn't in the room.
Well, you could see the relationship just really, really grow. I mean, in good ways and bad ways, more bad ways than not. But, it was, and I know I've watched some interviews with you as well too, Michael, where people come up and say, I hated Chuck. But I mean, that's the thing. There's the way that you portray him and the way that these writers write that. I mean, that you can love a character or hate a character, and it's all from the way that's portrayed. So you've done a phenomenal job, and I was sad to see it go. Even though I wasn't the biggest Chuck fan, I'm a Team Jimmy guy, but. I missed you greatly. But here's some questions here. I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of X-Files stuff. And this is Tom shared a really nice picture today of the two of you on set.
Nice.
Yeah, it was beautiful to see. And then someone said, no, that's modern day Lenny and Squiggy, which was kind of cute. I could see both of you pulling it off, obviously. So this is a question from Let Anna. How much did you and David have to practice the great mirror scene in Dreamland, one of my favorite X-Files episodes? And I've never seen it, so I don't even know. So
we shot it kind of the middle of the second week. It was a 4-week shoot for the 2-parter. And we rehearsed it every single day. Every day we took a half an hour off of our lunch break, and we did the thing. When there was a mirror available, we did it there. When it was just each other available, we did it face to face. But we were always drilling it. And we had time to drill it because we were out in the desert in the middle of the night, and listening to the coyotes and watching the Klieg lights fall apart. So
how closely did you guys look at the duck soup scene, or did you just do your own?
We watched it once. The choreography was necessarily slightly different because in the duck soup they're tricking each other, and this is supposed to be reality. It's supposed to be the real reflection. It's a light moment, but it's not, Harpo, punking Groucho. So it's just a different deal. So we just had to be precise and kind of work off each other. Yeah. Last time I saw David was in New York about 4 years ago. And I had this big beard at the time. I was doing Little Foxes. And so I'd see him in the restaurant. We'd go over and say hi. And I said, this is not going to work unless I shave, right? Because we always talked about, now we'll always be able to do this. But of course, being an actor, it leaves your brain once you don't need it anymore.
It was such a great casting as Morris Fletcher. It was such fun to have you on The Lone Gunman as well.
That was really
my first writing job was The Lone Gunman. So it was.
Is that true?
Right.
Well,
paying writing. Well, I had a paying writing job in features and things that never got made, but first TV job.
Yeah, that was a fun gig. Except I had done face casts before, and they had to do one for the things pulling the skin up. They had to do a thing, and it was the only time in my life I couldn't do it. I got terribly claustrophobic, and I think it's because I had seen someone put the wrong kind of cement on a person's face for a cast. It was Jeff Daniels.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it was somehow they put the wrong cast on, and they had to chip it out.
Oh my God!
Novocaine shots in the face so that they tearing it off when all of his eyebrows and eyelashes gone. Yeah, it was one of those inexplicably weird, terrible things.
Well, yeah, well that'll do it.
Like tales out of school.
Good Lord, I never heard that before. Okay.
So anyway,
okay.
it was the only time I ever got really weird about it, because I'd had a bunch of things done for Star Trek and for Little Nicky. I had casts. Anyway, I love the making stuff. It's fun.
I got to go back and watch and binge watch. Like I watched the first episode. Tom, the first one that you wrote, that was with Aaron Paul, wasn't it?
That's right. Aaron Paul was in my first X-Files episode.
Yeah. But
I had written two Lone Gunman was a show around season 8 of the X-Files. I had written 2 episodes for that first.
Okay.
And then we got canceled.
And I obviously I have seen some X-Files episodes, but I went
canceled us on a cliffhanger.
Yeah. I went back just because you'd written that one, and of course with Aaron Paul, with the Gilliverse family there, I went back and watched that one. But here is another question from, this is not Michael. It says, could you tell how it was to receive that death call from the show creators?
I'm sure I've told this story before. Yeah, I mean, when I wasn't working, I'd drive around Albuquerque, and I'd go to used bookstores. One of the things I used to do, I found out there was one, 25 miles north. I'd go up and see that one, collecting all this crap I have. And so anyway, it was the one right in town. It was one near the lousy Italian restaurant. And so I was on my way there, and my phone rings, and it's Vince and Peter. And my first thought was, and I told them, is this the death call? And they said, I said, okay, I'll pull over. And I pulled into the parking lot of the used bookstore, and I sat there because we talked about, this is coming to a head one way or another. And I said, yeah, we just wanted to let you. That's cool guys. That's I think, and as they put it, and it was exactly right. My Chuck's job is to move Jimmy closer to Saul, story-wise, arc-wise, and his he became kind of a ghost pain in the ass rather than just a brother who's a problem, So listen, I had such fun on the show, and I thought that I was very pleased with the way the character went out. I still believed as an actor that there was nothing wrong with Chuck, and that's what you have to do. Nobody plays a villain really convincingly unless they think they're in the right.
Yeah, you got to believe it.
And what was
writing?
I remember you tweeting 5 years ago or so. This tweet is stuck in my head because it was my episode. It was right before episode 109 aired. And it was something to the effect of, remember, nobody is just one thing. Basically sort of putting it out there, warning people that the Chuck McGill is not the Chuck McGill And so how was that as an actor receiving script pages that you might not have thought that you were this person up until that point, and then all of a sudden but it all made sense. Again, it was all based on things you had brought to the character.
I was really thrilled. And it was a call. It was a phone call from Vince and Peter saying, we want to talk to you about episode 9. And I was in New York because I had been going back and forth because I was doing, all the way in New York. But I was, taking some days off and everything. So I was in New York, and I got that call, and I said, yeah, this sounds pretty interesting. And then when I got the pages, it was like, babe, this is awesome. It's like, oh man, I get to turn the gun on the audience.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that was great.
And a slow gun too, kicking that table and kicking. And is it going to happen?
We're talking about we're talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about season 1.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Right.
So not the turn. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Here's a super chat question from Matt Manfredi. He says, this is for Tom, actually. Have there been any ideas that you've had for Better Call Saul that you really loved but had to drop because you realized something from Breaking Bad contradicted it?
That happens occasionally. Every once in a while. Nothing. I don't think there's anything I could talk about.
Right. Okay.
But we'll think of something and then we'll go back. We'll get we'll go online and look at Netflix and look at an episode of Breaking Bad and say, oh crap, we can't do this because this character is saying this or he knows this, and that happens a bunch with. It happened a lot with Hector and the cousins and more the cartel world because there's so many the politics of Gus Fring and how he fits into the cartel. So there's a lot of like, oh, let's have him do this or that, and then oh crap, we can't do that because the cousins know Mike from earlier. So there's some of that. It's
like cogs in the wheel, right? It's like, okay, we can't do that. That's going to throw the whole thing off course. I get it for sure. Here's a good question from Arabella. She says, after Chuck's death, Jimmy receives that letter from him. He wrote some beautiful things in it. Before dying, he told Jimmy he never really mattered that much to him. So were the letters' content fake?
I cannot speak to that.
Okay.
No, that's a fan theory that I don't understand why it goes around. It was absolutely a letter from Charles McGill that he had written into his will, and it was years earlier before Jimmy made it into the law profession. I forget what the timing was, but it's definitely Chuck's letter.
Okay, nice for sure. A question from Eamon. Eamon's one of our helpers here on the show as well, too. And this is actually coming from his wife, Louise. Michael, before the COVID lockdown, did you panic buy any aluminum foil?
First of all, it's Mylar.
That's right.
Aluminum foil. Is it Mylar?
I think it is.
It is Mylar,
yeah.
Yeah. No, I saw enough of that. 3 years worth of that. It was fine. But here's the thing. That's really kind of a warm item.
Yeah, it is.
They really do work. Those space blankets really do work if you're out in the, in the cold. Yeah. My daughter is doing a lot of camping these days, and I wonder if she has some. I never got any, but sounds like a good purchase. Yeah.
It saved Mike out in the desert.
Yeah.
On season 5 for sure.
I'll say that when we started talking about that, the condition that everybody came up with for Chuck worried me a little bit because I was like, is this going to be real? Are people going to believe this? And your performance, whatever you did to believe it, I was worried it was going to come off as maybe silly or people were going to laugh at it. But it was as tragic as it needed to be.
I'll tell you the secret. The secret is that you guys never told me. You guys never told me that Chuck was mentally ill.
We didn't know.
Right. And it grew up that way. And I saw no reason. Once story-wise, once outside looking in, I kind of had a better feel for it. From inside, Chuck never felt it. He never felt it. He was still on the phone with those people, trying to get them to turn off that last shred of electricity right up to the very end. It was completely 100% real. So by not telling me that the character was mentally ill, I became it. The cliche is, if you're playing a guy who thinks he sees unicorns, you can't play a guy who thinks he sees unicorns. You have to play a guy who sees unicorns, or it's not going to land. Mm-hmm. So you guys did me a huge favor, and you did all the heavy lifting.
A great acting lesson for any actors listening tonight.
Exactly.
See the unicorn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you were so into it. I know this wouldn't affect you like an actual illness, like after from 9 to 5 or outside of the show. But have you ever been like in a place after the show, like a casino or something, where it's just insane with things like that? And does it ever just make you think for a second a little differently about all the waves that we're all experienced to and exposed to?
No, and I in 2015 I did go to a casino. The family went to Vegas for 3 days inexplicably. We actually had some fun. But no, I'm not crazy about that scene anyway. But I never felt anything
That's good.
like that.
I'm just curious if it was hard to turn off. That's good. That shows how professional you are.
I've known people who had terrible physical reactions to the Santa Ana winds, which are these hot, dry winds, and it's hot and dry and windy outside. But I've known people who made them ill, made their flesh crawl, it made their headaches. Their hair was standing on end. Read the first paragraph of Red Wind by Raymond Chandler. You'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But I had to just buy into this the same way that people really felt that from the Santa Ana winds really feel it. So,
okay.
I don't know what's not.
Thank you. From Saul Goodman on Twitter, a really popular account, says, Michael, Tom, and Eric, or says hi to us. How hard was it to prepare for Chicanery? Definitely my top 3 favorite episodes, Emmy performances by far.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Well, it was a couple of long days. And Gordon Smith, correct? Yeah. Who doesn't, he writes a lot of words. So he wrote a lot of words. And
Damn you, Gordon.
Very, very good words. A lot of fun to do. But I did get a call. I was in New York, and I got a call from Dan, director. He's saying, how do you want to do this? Because there was going to be 2.5 days of just that scene, and without a lot of breaks and everything. Which way do you want to do it? I said, look, doesn't matter. I'm gonna be up and working on this stuff. I'll have the lines as far as, how I never know. I feel in the moment, that I'm getting exhausted after hour 10 or 12. I start getting a little fatigued, but I also know that eventually they let you go home. So I just knew my words and everything, and they covered it and covered it and covered it and covered it, and it's a really good scene. It really works very well.
Beautiful scene. And here's a question from Elizabeth. And here again, with talking about some protecting of the brothers a little bit. When Chuck was with his mom at her last moment in the hospital there at her deathbed, he withheld the last words out, or did he withhold the last words out of spite or protection? I can imagine that Jimmy would obviously feel guilty for not being there. So was it spite or protection, or I'm going to assume probably spite, but I'm just guessing here.
I don't think you'll ever find a person to admit to spite.
Right.
That's kind of a colorized word. I do think that he would rather die himself than let Jimmy know what had happened in that room. And once he considered that, once he was asked, did she say anything? I think it was a nanosecond before he could have answered, and he waited another half a second and answered. Never any doubt in his mind that he was not going to share that. It seems like spite. It made perfect sense to Charles McGill at that point. So
yep,
I apologize for no one, including myself.
Here's a good one from Price of Reason.
Go
ahead, Tom. No, go ahead.
I was going to step out of the Gilliverse for a moment, and my wife and I just watched Lost in America recently with Gary Marshall's amazing performance. Was Gary Marshall your first entrance into television? Was he the first person to hire you? And Laverne and Shirley, or did you?
Yeah, no, I had done no TV at that point. We were David Lander, Harry Shearer, and myself were an act called The Credibility Gap, satirical act, and we did some stuff. And one of the things we did was these 2 characters that David and I had been doing since college. And Penny got this show, and her brother Gary was producer, and she said, you know what, you guys could write on the show, the 3 of you, and maybe try to work those characters in, down the line. So we went to this party at Penny's house, and Lowell Gans and Mark Rothman were there, who were 2 of the producers. Gary was not there. But we launched into some Lenny and Squiggy stuff that no one had ever heard before, and we never did again. We had never done it before. It was about them going to Butler School, and we just never did it again. But the producers went, all right. And so we met with Gary on the Monday. And because I wasn't in the guild, they had to audition at least one other actor who was in the Guild for my part. And it was Tim Thomerson.
Oh.
And Tim is an amazing actor and a very, very funny stand-up comic. But it was sort of like they just read him because they knew they had to read somebody. It was like an act. They were hiring these two guys. One that doesn't have a card. So anyway, Tim actually was supposed to appear down the line as another character, but he got real busy making movies and stuff. So yeah,
nice.
Nobody knew.
Well, here's a question.
We auditioned some other actors for Charles McGill, but you were our first choice, and we needed a backup in case you couldn't do it. I know you were on Broadway at the time. Who reached out to you about the character? Do you remember who was the first person? Was it Vince, or who contacted you initially?
I first heard the rumor from Brian. We were backstage at he mentioned to me, they're doing a prequel to this. That sounds awesome. And then a few days later, he said, you're going to get a call about playing his brother. Oh, yeah, serious? Yeah. Gilligan and yeah, okay. So it just sounded like a good idea. And then they called and started talking to me a little bit, and they cast me, and it was great. I got a great phone call, great message on my phone. I was on stage. I got a message on my phone from Odenkirk. He just sounded so happy. Yeah, it was a good deal.
Beautiful. And that actually answered the very next question as well, too, from our super chat. It was Price of Reason. And I'll just read it to you just so I can read it to you. It says, Michael, loved your work. Were you surprised that you were offered the role of Chuck? And Tom, who was responsible for the stroke of genius in casting? So both those questions were answered, but obviously you're a big fan favorite. It's beautiful.
Well, we know. I knew Vince from X-Files days, and Tom briefly at the very end of my X-Files universe with that. It was the one episode of Gunman, and then in the tank, when we were in the Paramount tank, not Paramount, the Universal tank shooting with the.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So I remember.
Yeah, the boat on the water there. Yeah, that's what we happened to share a screen. I don't know if you know I'm in that episode. I mean, my only speaking part on television. I am a speaker at the science convention when the gunmen run through. So wow. There I am.
Amazing. Small world.
Trivia. That's something I didn't know.
I need to work with Frank Spot this more because he keeps wanting to put me in things.
Yeah.
It was Frank's idea. Anyway, go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
No problem at all. That's funny. So where was the question? The last one I had here. This one is, okay, this is more of a question statement. Arabella saying, Michael, could you please say hi to Gianfranco? Michael is his favorite. Gianfranco, I think that's it. Could you say hello to Gianfranco?
Jean, as in Jean?
Yeah, Gian.
Oh, Gianfranco. Oh, it's one word.
Yeah.
Hi, Gianfranco. I salute you. The right hand.
Awesome. Saying that's very kind. Here was a good one here as well too.
About Gianfranco, we could talk about stuff.
There's Gianfranco and Giancarlo, and there you go. Andrea asks, what did you enjoy most about your time on Better Call Saul? Obviously, the family you've come across and everything, but what were some of the magical moments for you in your time?
The whole 3 years has a funny little memory bubble around it. And mainly what I remember is this great cast and this great bunch of this great staff, amazing production people, and just the best people on set, funny, patient, gorgeous in many cases, and it was just really, really a good time. I had known Ray a little bit. I'd worked with her once before, and I was a huge fan. And to find out that she had these major chops and was just getting better all the time, she really has become one of the best actresses on television. I think everybody agrees with that. And it's just been such a joy to see. And, you have specialized relationships with people. Patrick and I talk about old, 80s rock and roll,
nice.
That's who he is. And that's, who I am. A little older, but yeah. So, I guess the people. But I also kind of like tooling around. I love the sunsets and the stormy skies. just driving the highway through Madrid. Did you do that? You drive through Madrid, Tom? Yeah, there's nothing there, but it's quaint as hell.
Yeah.
And
Worse, several times.
yeah, and I'm not a desert guy, but I really do. I did like the state very much, and people were very sweet. So just in general, I had a good time.
Nice. And I'm going to have to, I would probably
Who
have
was
to,
the most annoying person to be around on set?
other than Tom.
Who's the most annoying person to be around on set between Ray and Banks, I would imagine?
I wouldn't call Banks annoying. That's like calling the Grand Canyon deep. It's something more than that. No, I adore Jonathan. He's the gorgeous one I was mentioning before. And he's the only guy in the set who's older than me.
Oh.
So I treasure him for that.
I'm sure tomorrow I would have to hand over my YouTube credentials if I didn't ask at least one Spinal Tap question. And this isn't even from me, as much as I'd love to ask one. This is from Quest for Quality. Question for your former rock star life. As a lifelong Spinal Tap junkie, are there any secret unreleased songs that you might someday release that I could turn up to 11?
It's complicated. As
Okay.
They say yeah. I write a lot of songs, and some of them would work for the band. We just kind of haven't been able to do that. The last time we wrote anything was for the 2009 album, but that existed mainly to redo the old ones to get them sounding better and to get them so that we owned the copyrights on the performances, because MCA still owned the video. They don't get started on that.
Mm-hmm.
The legal stuff, But here's a lesson without saying any more about this. If you're doing something, if you've written something, if you're creating something, own your shit. Okay? Don't wake up one morning and find out that it has somebody else's name on it. You'll only be sorry later. So really, if you reach that point where you go, well, I got to sell this thing, but they want to do this, and I really need the money, you're going to need something else later on. There's a lot of money you're not going to see, and a lot of just bragging rights that you can say, this is mine, this is what we did. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's what I would say. I'm
not the world's biggest Kanye West fan, but I can appreciate where he was coming from, going after these masters and some of these other artists out there trying to own the rights to their material, because especially now, right? Like there's no touring, so we can't even make that money anymore. So selling it and licensing it to productions and whatever, it's the only thing you've got.
Well, I love that. I love some of this in-house concert stuff that's happening. Mm-hmm. We are competing with my friend Jason Isbell right now, which is a shame because he's amazing. And but he's doing a concert tonight. It's from his home, his barn, and it's going to be amazing. Patton Oswalt is doing one next week.
Yeah, Arm's Length, I think it's called. Something like that.
Yeah. And listen, I'm there for that. I'm for, supporting the arts. And if someone's got a gig for me, I'm for supporting myself. So I've been doing some things from the house. I'm doing some so I can't talk about it. I've been doing a wonderful animated series that I've done a bunch of, and you'll know about that pretty soon. Working with some of my old Animaniacs friends, and it's really, really fun.
Nice. Well, just one quick thing while we're talking about these virtual performances, like the stand-up comedy. I know what it's like as a musician to perform for people, like behind a webcam, and sometimes you see them in the chat say, hey, that was great, Eric, or blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, great. It's the equivalent of an applause. What is it like for comedy when you really, really, like, 'cause you're a great comedian, and Patton as well. What is it like for you guys and girls out there doing this behind a camera, and you're waiting to feed on those people for, did it go? Did the joke reach? How do you do that?
Well, I don't do that.
No, I know, but how, in the world, of it.
Here's the thing. There is, who Alan Bennett is. Alan Bennett was one of the members of a group called Beyond the Fringe, brilliant British satirical quartet in the 60s. And he became a wonderful playwright. He wrote History Boys and Madness of George III and all these, he's a serious writer. He wrote a series of monologues. Not all of them are funny. They're called Talking Heads. Not all of them are funny, but the ones that are funny even though you're not hearing anyone. It's just someone talking right to camera. but it's talking to us, and it works on that level. It's just different. You know, Patton knows what's funny. That's clear.
Yeah.
You know, he knows when something is landing or something it doesn't. You know, he's not just a great comic. He's a great historian and observer and curator of it. And so he'll be fine. You know, I think if you're another kind of comic, it might be different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Gallagher's going to work.
No. Yeah. That's not going to fly. But Pat would be the type of person to be like, okay, here's my joke. Internet, do with it as you see fit, and he knows it's going to work, right?
Yeah.
Tom, did you get some more things on your end there as well?
Yeah, of course. We were lucky to have Michael back in season 4 and sing that ABBA song, which I knew you were really excited about doing. But
yeah, I'm not a big ABBA fan. I love Chiquitita, and the rest of it can go to hell. But and I said, you know that song, Chris? No, I don't. Oh, it was a number 1 song. I don't care. I've never heard it. I heard it and I went, I wouldn't have listened to all of this if it came on the radio. This isn't a very good song. But here's the thing. I grew to kind of love it. And I don't, Paul Myers is this really cool rock writer and guy. And he said, he reacted to some tweet thing, and he said, we're not allowed to like ABBA now? I said, you can like whoever you want. I like some of ABBA. I don't have to like everything. But it was perfect there was a perfect choice for this, because it was 2 guys in competition, neither one of them admitting it, one of them a lot better at it, and it's a song about winning. It was ingenious. And it was really fun to sing. So I like the song a lot better.
And Bob Odenkirk being such a horrible singer, he didn't even try to sing badly. That is him doing his best.
Oh, natural.
Before we went, he said, now, I'm not going to be kidding here. I'm going to be really trying to sing good. And I said, oh, great. And then he starts, and I go, oh, okay.
And then
Slam dunk.
Then you just steal it. You're a great singer, obviously. I did a retweet of that too. I took that video and I took the audio out and I actually put Spinal Tap's Big Bottom, and I almost had it synced to both you guys' mouths. It was pretty funny.
Oh my God, that's creepy.
Yeah, here's Michelle. A question says, and a lot of this was kind of touched base on tonight, but I want to at least ask her a question. She says, question from Michael: does Chuck actually love Jimmy? Hate him? Jealous of him? Please explain Chuck's feelings for his brother. Obviously, Chuck's gone now, but was there some love? Was there some hate? A little bit of all of that?
Yeah, I think so. I think as long as, I think until he realized that Jimmy was duplicitous, that Jimmy was a liar, that he was stealing money, that he looked at the candy store as being sort of, the corner shop as being, kind of his bank, something that never would have crossed Chuck's mind. I think that's when things started to turn, because he started realizing that not only is Jimmy kind of the surprise kid, the baby, he's also getting away with murder. And it was one of those things I couldn't tell my folks about. It got under my saddle, but for some reason I didn't confront it. Now I was off. Like I say, I was out of high school. I was into college. I was into the law. I was very busy making myself the most important man in the family. And I saw this guy was looking more and more like a landmine. I think that's when things really started to go south. And that can happen, You can love your little brother until he takes your car out and crashes it, or takes your girlfriend away,
And crashes your car.
Things change. And all brothers are complicated.
True.
Even the simplest pair of brothers are very complicated. Sisters too, I imagine. All siblings.
I agree with that. I saw a really good interview of you the other day.
That was the importance of the karaoke scene. The karaoke scene was, we had wanted to show that these guys did love the whole thing. Post karaoke, when they go back to Jimmy's place and lie in bed together, he was going to make pancakes for him in the morning. That there was genuine love there, and it just got lost in all the jealousy.
That was a special night. That was a special night for them. That was sort of like, well, however he got here, this is what he is now. This is going to be fine. He's going to make money, and I'm not going to be bailing him out anymore. So there were all those positive things, and Chuck was forced into a good time that night, and he really it did mellow him quite a bit. So
that was very touching for sure. Here's a question from Mrs. Wexler, and this is what's so cool about this whole Gilliverse and universe and all the work that all of you have done outside of this program and the Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and things of that nature. You know, like I didn't know much about Mr. Show. You know, like Tom grew up, you know, he knew Mr. Show and stuff like that before, you know, that's how he knew Bob and going up into this kind of stuff. I am the other way around. I watch all these shows. I go back and discover what some of the work was like before. You know, it's a hidden gem finding these things. And no matter how you find it, it's great that you find it. But here's a question from Mrs. Wexler. Did you ever make the connection of being a teacher at a law school on Mr. Show to being a lawyer on Better Call Saul?
You know, I didn't until well after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was doing John Houseman. I was doing this guy who was in the Paper Chase, and he played exactly this guy. That's what they wanted me to do. So I kind of did that. But then it was probably in the middle of the second season that it occurred to me, yeah, I was your law teacher back then, when everyone was jumping out the window or whatever they're doing in that sketch. It was just so bizarre.
That was good. And that's the thing too. I'm sure like you as an actor and as an entertainer, even with some of your musical works, you don't really care how people find you as long as they find you, and then, you know, and just discover more too, right? People come in and they find these new bands on the radio and they think they're a brand new band, but meanwhile they're just doing a cover of somebody from the 60s or 70s and like, oh, I'm going to go check their back catalog.
I remember when my son was about 10 or 11, and I got a call from him. And I forget where I was. I got a call. Oh, we were just living in separate houses. But anyway, I got a call from him, and he says, "Have you ever heard of somebody named Gilna Ratner?"
Oh, geez.
And I said, "Gilda Radner?" "Yeah, Gilda Radner." And I said, "Yeah. She's the funniest person I've ever seen in my life." He had seen a couple of SNL things of her playing the little Girl Scout for alone in her room, which is, you know, I said, "Fletch, you got really, really good taste. She is awesome." And I had to tell her that there ain't going to be no new Gilda Radner, you know, and it broke my heart a little bit. But listen, we're watching a lot of dead people these days. We go to YouTube and we watch Sid Caesar and Imogen Coca and Howie Morris and Carl Reiner. Just recently lost Carl Reiner, one of my heroes. You know, and that's a thing we got. You know, we have something that a lot of professions don't have. We leave tracks, and these tracks can be very entertaining. You know, Turner Classics, I think, is one of the greatest educational tools for actors, for filmmakers, especially for writers. It's invaluable. It is something that everybody should do. If they're serious about making any kind of art, they should spend a little time, even watching bad stuff on TCM, because you learn to tell the difference. You know, you learn that there's John Huston and there's Hugo Haas, and a lot in between. You know.
Well, one of the blessings and the curses of the internet too is because what goes out there stays out there. That can be a bad thing, but it's also a good thing now. Archiving all these things that once our heroes are gone, you know, if you can't get to the library and get these things on, you know, DVD or Blu-ray or God forbid VHS or something, we've got the internet now to archive all of this stuff. Yeah. And sometimes some great restorations that people are doing. You know, some of these silent films and cleaning them right up. It's just there's a world of entertainment that will be out there for our grandchildren, great grandchildren, and so on and so forth. As long as the world is still here.
Well, what time you got?
Yeah, I know. Speaking of the world being here, here's a question. This is from Price of Reason. This is a good question. And this is more towards you, Tom. But it says, big fan of your work. As opposed to Better Call Saul, so many shows these days sacrifice good storytelling for pushing politics and topical agendas. Why can't more shows focus on story like you guys do? And I agree that the storytelling in this in the Gilliverse is second to none. Anything you can comment on his question?
Nothing at all wrong with being political or you know, saying what you believe and getting that out there. But I feel like from the start of Breaking Bad on, there was a feeling of wanting to do something timeless, and once you start adding politics or what's going on, even though we're set in a very specific place and time, 2004, we never mention, You never hear anything about the war that was going on at the time, or there's so little news that we had, or landmarks about this moment in time, and it gives it even though it's set in 2004, Better Call Saul, it gives it a timeless feeling. So it's something that you go back and watch those early episodes of Breaking Bad from 10 years ago, 14 years ago. What was it?
Yeah.
It still feels fresh in a way. So we try not to put any kind of current events or anything that's going on, and just make it about the character and what they're emotionally experiencing.
That's right. And you and I talked about this on the show before in a recent episode, Tom, because like you don't see like Kim Wexler saying, decided to update my Facebook status 1 second. You know what I mean? Like you're not saying those kind of things, and you really date, where you're at in time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the technology is unavoidable, but the current events are something
you ever play that game?
Tend to avoid, or even, you never see a holiday on Better Call Saul.
Yeah. You
never see the Christmas episode or the Halloween episode.
That game you can play when you watch a movie that you really like, say, 3 Days of the Condor or something, and you sit there, you watch with people, and you say the word cell phone. Stops the plot cold. Stops the plot cold. Yeah. Somebody pointed out, well, how about every episode of Seinfeld? If they all had cell phones, there would be no episodes of Seinfeld.
Yeah.
And it's true. We have it's a different world right now.
Well, we talked comedy a moment ago, and we're still going to stay there for a second. Matt has a question saying, Michael, has there ever been a scene that you've done that you've had trouble getting through just because it was making you laugh too much?
Yeah. The Fred Willard scene in Spinal Tap.
Okay.
We were talking about it the other night at the Air Force Base, and nobody had any idea what Fred was going to say. We just said, we'll put him in a uniform and go Fred. And we never heard any of that stuff before. And it was so brilliant. And he was a brilliant improviser, but he also prepped stuff.
Okay.
He also curated a reality for the guy. And so it was just very hard. And you can see Chris start to go a little bit. Chris he actually moves behind another actor. So to keep laughing. Yeah. You ever see Peter Bull in Strangelove?
No.
When the film Dr. Strangelove, when Sellers
yes.
when he's fighting the thing, he starts beating his arm to keep himself from highlighting. And Peter Bull, who is the Russian ambassador or the Russian guy in backup, and suddenly you see him go. he just goes.
There's a cut.
There's a cut right after.
The cut, and it's all of a sudden his face straight again.
Amazing.
It's
hard sometimes. That was hard. There are a couple of times in Chris's movies. Sometimes working with Penny and Cindy and David Lander and Vernon Shirley, there would be times when we were all a puddle, and the audience is there because we always shot in front of a live audience, and they were there just going, "Oh, let's go, guys!" And we can't even talk because we're laughing so hard. So yeah, those things are kind of like fun when they happen, and then the audience gets a little antsy. So we try not to.
Well, a good share for sure. And earlier, a slight at the top of the program, you're talking about different books that you suggested to read, but maybe we could take that a little further. Here's a question from who is it from? Was from Henry. Maybe some books that you could suggest reading during quarantine. Any things you could suggest that maybe that's crossed your desk recently, or?
Not a lot of new stuff. Although I read a pretty good book called Tell No One, Say Nothing, something like that. But it's about the Irish troubles of the 70s. It's very good. Wish I had a look at it. Oh, I read Woman in White by Wilkie Collins, which is really, really good. And I'm just finishing Tale of Two Cities. And I'm also reading a James Lee Burke, who's one of my favorite contemporary writers, awesome writer. And my wife and I are reading the new ton of French. We read to each other at night because we're the corniest couple in the world. And so we just started that one, and she's a wonderful writer. So, I like all those.
Good ones.
Tom?
There was one more
Like
question.
everything I read,
Go ahead, Tom. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
I think I'm having a bad internet connection. I apologize. So maybe I'm delaying.
No problem.
Everything I read is about making movies. I just opened up the Making of Goodfellas book, and I finished the Kubrick books, the Making of 2001: Space Odyssey, and there's a book by his former assistant, which is great. So I'm really in the books about making of movies.
Yeah,
that's cool.
You've read the Sidney Lumet, of course.
Yes, I have that.
And you've read the Roth, Lillian Roth picture.
I have.
It's about it's the first making of book. It's about the making of John Huston's Red Badge of Courage.
Oh wow! Okay.
Invented the form. She really did. So
need to check that one out.
Yeah, it's very cool.
There's a good question about Laverne and Shirley here. Here it is from Lori. What was what was your favorite memory of Laverne and Shirley? Obviously, and I'm old enough to remember watching that as it would air. So that was pretty cool. I didn't have to watch it in reruns. But favorite memories?
Well, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, even share one.
Show, the 13th show the script was a little weak. It was a little kind of not working. We cast it well. We had our friend Peter Ebling came in to do a guest shot, and we had a really funny woman playing the waitress. And so we had a show that was kind of a mess, except the cast was pretty good. So we just said, okay, let's do this. And it was too long and everything. So I said, let's just pick up the pace. So when we shot it, there was this moment we were shooting it and it's mysteriously going really well. And the audience is loving it. And so me and Cindy are backstage and we're just like, we have a quick exit and then an entrance. So she looks at me and she goes, the show's cooking. And I said, yeah, the show's cooking. For some reason, I remember that moment so much because it was my first TV. You know, the show had been on the air. It was a hit already, but we thought, oh, can we make this turkey fly? And it was one of those things. It's like, yeah, we are in good hands with us. So it was really kind of a pat on the back that we gave ourselves. And but there were moments like that. There were some moments, some really impressive people came to see us. I won't drop their names, but that was kind of cool. I was just like, nobody knows me. And all of a sudden, these people I've heard of and seen on TV, and we met Arkin, and I know I can't. I'm not going to drop any more names, but it was just amazing to me. It was just wonderful.
That's beautiful.
Yes, yeah.
Here, this is a good question for you. This will be the last one for the evening. We'll wrap up here within a moment here. But we talked a lot about reading, but this is a good question about writing. And this isn't even for Tom. This is for you. TVC15 says, hey, Mike, I've recently discovered your blog. And I think I have a link to it on the website as well, too, to your website. But I fell in love with your writing style. Are you going to post something in the near future? And could you, and he's also recommended books about the industry. Well, both you guys talked about the industry books, but do you think you'll get back to blogging a little bit more?
Well, yeah, I'm very terrible about it. I'll go for a year without putting anything on. The last thing I did was a thing about Hopalong Cassidy, so that should give you an idea of my state of mind. I'm enjoying my second childhood is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I've been doing a lot of work in my quote unquote studio here. A lot of songs that I've written, going back years and years and making nice new versions of them, and that's kind of what I'm doing mostly. But I will blog more if you think so.
Good.
Yeah, some of it's okay. Yeah,
that's good. That's good to know. Yeah, I've come across the website as well too, and obviously doing research and things like that. I just went through a couple of the posts there as well. That's great.
I'll do it more often. Good.
Well, we're going to let you fly in a second, but we'll let you know as well too. One of your on-screen colleagues is going to be here tomorrow for a special time. Talking back to that special scene where the battery was slipped into your pocket. Lavelle Crawford, Hugh Babineau is going to be stopping by tomorrow, and he's only coming tomorrow because he's on stage right now, like on Friday. So we can't do Fridays for him at all. So we'll make sure to say hi to him for you as well.
Please give my love.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Well, Michael and Tom, I wanted to take a second for Tom here as well too. It's been an absolute pleasure, and as Tom said earlier at the top of the show, Tom will be back when he can. So Tom has a nice warmed up co-host seat waiting for him whenever he's able to return. And Michael, I will also extend an invitation to you sometime next year in 2021 when the world hopefully feels a little bit more normal. If you would ever like to come back, we'll have you back again as well too.
One question for Tom.
Mm-hmm.
When they fired you from inside the Gilliverse, did they call you on the phone and were you in your car?
Yeah, I was in the car. I pulled over. I said, "Is this the death call?"
Yeah. Oh well, happens to everybody.
I told him, I said he needs facial hair. I was trying to get him to grow that mustache. We have a little bit of a
thank
thing.
you.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll come next time you see me. I'll have the big
Okay, good deal.
smalls.
Yeah, Spotnitz will cast you in something.
Eric, thank you for inviting me to do this. Thank you for writing me that email and asking me to do this. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you to my wife and kids also for allowing me to do this breakaway. It's been a lot of fun over these past. Have we done 10 episodes?
10 tonight. 10 tonight.
Tonight's the 10th. It's been a lot of great fun, and I will definitely be back.
Yes. Okay, we got that on tape. What stays on the internet goes on the internet. Stays. We're good. No, it's fantastic. Your wife and kids have been great support and letting you come out and play with us and the Gilliverse family every Friday night. And Michael, this has been a dream come true for me as well too. Obviously, being a Spinal Tap fan, it's part of my DNA. Better Call Saul, of course, Chuck McGill, everything that you've done, honor. Thank you so very, very much for giving us 60 minutes of your time.
Very much.
Awesome.
Love you, Tom. See you soon.
Thank you, Michael.
We'll say goodbye to you off the air. Don't go away. See you soon, everyone. See you tomorrow night, 6 p.m. tomorrow night. Special time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Lavelle Crawford, Hugh Babineau, right here in the Gilliverse. Until then, cheers.
Thanks again for tuning into Inside the Gilliverse with Tom and Eric. Be sure to check back each week for more great discussions and interviews with cast and crew from Breaking Bad, El Camino, and Better Call Saul.